You're on the clock at the beginning of the third round of your rookie draft, and you are faced with the decision between two third-round NFL draft receivers. We have Roman Wilson of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Malachi Corley of the New York Jets. Which receiver is the right pick? Stay tuned to the Fantasy Football Universe to find out. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Universe. I am Aaron St. Dennis. Follow me everywhere at FF Mad Scientist, joined by Jeremy Schulman at FF_Rebel and Jesse Muller at JMuller05. What the fuck's so funny?
You froze there in the middle.
Stewie. Oh, did I? Oh, okay.
You're good now. You're
gotcha.
Good.
All right. Well, not sure how much of that intro you heard, but I don't really say anything that important, so you didn't miss much. Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Universe. We're here for the final of our 2024 Rookie Faceoffs. Next week, we're going to start with some on-the-clock decisions of the veteran players. I think we're starting with Chase versus Jefferson because that seems to be the one everyone wants to talk about. But today, it's Roman Wilson, Malachi Corley. I said, any chance I just got muted during that part and we just mute out all the stupid shit I say, but then I'd be muted the whole show. Anyways, Roman Wilson, Malachi Corley. We're here to talk about them. If you want to see the full write-up, do so over at fantasyfootballuniverse.com. At the end of the video, stay tuned. I will link the sneak peek video for both Wilson and Corley if you'd like to learn more about either one. You could also head over to our YouTube to see all the sneak peek videos for all of these players. And on the website, we have all the sneak peek articles and some draft stuff, whatnot. You know, head over social media, the website, like, comment, rate, review, subscribe, follow, all that fun shit. We would greatly appreciate it. I guess we're going to get into this one. Roman Wilson selected in the third round, 84th overall by the Pittsburgh Steelers out of Michigan. He's 22 years old after his 4 seasons with the Wolverines. Put up a solid showing at the Combine, posting a 10-yard split in the 80th percentile, 20-yard shuttle in the 86th percentile. These combined scores perfectly illustrate his elite agility in the open field. I was having a hard time finding a comp for him, but we'll get to that in a second. I just believe that he's blazing fast and he's super shifty and agile. I think he's going to be a yak monster at some point. Next, we got Malachi Corley, selected in the third round as well, 65th overall by the Jets out of Western Kentucky. I believe that's the Hilltoppers. Hilltops? Mm-hmm. I don't remember. One of them. It's either Hilltoppers or Hilltop. One of them is a college football team, and one of them is the name of bad guys in The Walking Dead. Don't know. Anyways, he's also 22 and spent 4 years in college. He was invited to the Combine but didn't participate in any of the time drills, and I'm not sure why. I seen there were some conflicting reports. Did anyone remember? Did he not go to the Combine? Did he refuse? Did he? I don't remember what the hell happened here. I looked and it says I was like, oh, maybe he wasn't high enough profile to get invited, but it looks like he was invited and either didn't attend or just didn't test. But
yeah, I don't know. Kenley Platt, the RAS guy, has Corley running like multiple things. I don't know if it's his pro day or what, but like I'm looking at 40 times and he did some shuttle stuff, so I'm not sure.
I have all of his stuff from his pro day, but
okay, that's what it is.
The Jets, NewYorkJets.com says he was injured during the Combine and could not participate. It does not say what his
Gotcha. Okay, so he accepted the invite but couldn't go. That makes a lot of sense there. All right, player comps I have. Roman Wilson I have closest to Denver Broncos sophomore, I guess now, Marvin Mims. Well, Corley for me is Green Bay Packers Jaden Reed. Both those guys are young players. Both, I think, have significant upside. I like both those comps. If you told me that's what I would get out of both of them, I would be happy. Obviously, Mims is a little bit more of a project, and people in their need for immediate gratification have jumped ship on him. But what do you think here of Wilson and Corley?
Yeah, I'd be happy with those comps. It's interesting enough. I've seen the most lofty comp I've ever seen on Player Profile. For Roman Wilson, they have Stephon Diggs, and I was like, I don't know what y'all got that from because they are nowhere near similar players.
I thought smaller Debo or bigger Rondell. Like I just thought he was he's a yak monster is what I see. But go ahead.
Well, like it's interesting. Like if you're looking for the yak guy, it's clearly Corley. Like that's how he's used. Roman Wilson, like when he gets the ball in his hands, like there's just no yak. Like I don't. It's weird. Like, and he's a slot guy, but he's like a solid player. And I think if we're looking for range of outcomes, I think Corley has a massive range of outcomes. I think Roman Wilson is a very like condensed range of outcomes. Like the type of player you're getting. He'll be solid pro. So like. It's interesting looking at them from that perspective, at least from my eyes. Like they're two drastically different players, and if you get into this later,
like I said, I think the skill set for Wilson projects him to be more of a yak guy. I know you said Corley has been the yak guy. I think that's one where I added context to it. One of them's playing in the Big Ten and one of them's playing at Western Kentucky. I think Corley was a better yak guy because he had far worse competition to play against.
It's like that's all his targets too. Yeah, they're all like behind the line of scrimmage. Like it's all low A dot stuff, and they just wanted to get the ball in his hands. So he wasn't running any like NFL routes. Basically, is the way it is. So it's interesting, right?
He's Rondell Moore.
Yeah, I think he's just a bigger Rondell Moore. Yeah,
I'm a bigger Rondell Moore.
Poor Rondell. Oh, the hype was fierce for him back in the day.
Well, come on. I mean, if Cliff Kingsbury can't design a successful offense for you, who can? Because that seems like a sure thing there, right? All right. Size comparison. This is where we'll start. Corley, 5'11", 215. Wilson, 5'11", 185. So I guess it all depends what you want, but they are identical in height, and one is 30 pounds heavier. So that may be the difference of why one had a lot of yak, because he's a lot harder to bring down because he's a bulky motherfucker. Motherfucker. What are your thoughts here, guys? Same height, 30 pounds difference.
I wonder, who am I going to take? I don't know. Give me a guy that's a freaking bowling ball to take out there versus Roman Wilson. Like I struggle with these smaller slot wide receivers personally, so like they need to be pluses for me. So yeah, I'm gonna take Corley. He's just a much bigger dude. Same like I mean he didn't run the same 40, but like I don't care because he's 212 pounds as opposed to 185. So personally, I'll take Corley. I don't know about you, Jeremy.
Yeah. In terms of yak, yeah, I'll take Corley. We're talking about size. Yeah, I like his size. I think, we were talking about comps earlier. I feel like Roman Wilson is more in the Robert Woods mold. He's a little bit smaller for sure, but he has the opportunity in the right situation to, produce like Robert Woods, but he's more of an average player, I think. When you're talking about Malachi Corley, everybody says Debo. For some reason, I can't think of his name but Aaron Rodgers guy who followed him to the Jets, slot guy.
It's not Lazard. It's
no, it's the Clemson guy. I know you're talking about.
No, Cobb. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking of the yak guy who they comped to Debo from Clemson, who basically is out of the league. He got drafted a couple years ago, and he's non-existent. It'll come in a minute.
He reminds me more of kind of a Randall Cobb type, although a little bit stockier and bigger. So, and I think he can have similar production to Randall Cobb, especially now that he's with Aaron Rodgers, someone who could feed him the ball. So, yeah, I like Malachi's size better. He's in a better position, but Roman Wilson still has the opportunity there to succeed. I'll go Malachi, but I don't think it really matters. They're both slot guys who are short.
I like that Robert Woods comp. That's a good one. I hadn't thought because I think he's technically still in the NFL. I don't know, was he still on Tennessee's roster? Pittsburgh?
It's not Houston?
Yeah. You guys remember Amari Rodgers? That's the guy that I cannot think of. That's the guy that everyone wanted to say was the guy. He's not in the league anymore. So yeah, obviously did not work out for him.
All right. Speed. Malachi Corley is fast. 4.46. Roman Wilson is 4.39. So I gave this one to Wilson, but 30 pounds lighter, you tend to be a half a second quicker. So what do you guys think here?
Yeah. If it's anywhere like close range of outcomes, like with 40 times and like all of that stuff, and there's 30 pounds added on top, I'm going to defer to the guy that has way more weight running. So yeah, I'm going to go to Corley here, but like you could talk yourself into Wilson. I would not hate it either.
Yeah. I think it shows up too. When we talk speed, you also talk quickness, and it shows up. We talked about those shuttle times for Roman Wilson. I mean, he's quick in and out of his breaks. You see it in the tape. Malachi Corley is not a seasoned route runner. I think Roman Wilson absolutely blows him away there. So, in terms of speed, I'm going to give it to Roman Wilson pretty handily here, especially because he's going to be able to create some separation at the next level.
You know what the funny part here is? I'm looking it up, and despite the difference in speed, Wilson is so fast that he still grades out with a higher speed score. Like overall, even weight adjusted, it's 96 versus 92. So he's so fast that I guess it makes up for the difference. So
there you go.
I'll give it to Wilson. Route running. Roman Wilson, I had graded out 83rd in short routes, 90 and 90 overall, or on intermediate and deep, 88 overall. Corley, I had 79, 82, 83 for 81st overall. So I had a sizable win here for Roman Wilson. I know Roman wasn't exactly a heavy piece or heavily used piece in this offense because it was a run first team, but I thought Malachi Corley was probably at best an average route runner. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually think they both struggle route running. Like I don't think Roman Wilson's that good of a route runner personally, but he did more of what he was asked to do. It was more pro level stuff. Like he did a lot of crossing intermediate stuff. Malachi Corley, they're just like, hey, sit there. We'll throw you the ball. Go do stuff because you're a big guy in Western Kentucky. So like, yeah, I'll defer to Roman Wilson, but like I don't think it's actually part of his game. The one thing I like that most about Roman Wilson's game is it's similar to Tyler Lockett did with Russell Wilson back in the day. It's the junkyard, like go do something for me the last minute. Roman Wilson was like telekinetically connected to JJ McCarthy. Like that's where he shined. Like I was blown away with that part of his game.
It's his only receiver.
Yeah.
I didn't see a ton of separation for Corley. I think he got a little bit more lucky sometimes with some of that separation than he did. I saw Roman Wilson kind of creating separation. It wasn't routine. But for me, Wilson by far is the better route runner, Malachi Corley. But like you said, it did have a lot to do with usage as well. You know, we were showing a week or two ago the Malachi Corley hype tape from Jets camp where he runs like literally takes 2 steps, turns around, hops around a couple of times, bobbles the ball, and then turns upfield. Like Malachi Corley season, no. You know, I think if they're going to ask this guy to do more than just run crossers, it could be a problem. But if he runs crossers or takes screens, he's going to be just fine. You know, he'll need to develop that. Wilson is further along in my eyes in route running. I'll give it to him.
Gets hyped for bobbling the ball on a 2-yard stop route. And that transitions perfectly into our next category of hands. This one wasn't close for me. I have Wilson graded out as an 85 for hands. Corley, 69. Corley may have been of the first 3 rounds here, like of all the receivers taken in day 1 or day 2, I think Corley may have had the worst hands of any of them. And it's not particularly close. I thought he was prone to concentration drops all the time. I thought that was the biggest one for me. In the end, this whole thing for me was decided by how poor Corley was with his hands. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I prefer him for that. Like if we're going hands, it's Roman Wilson.
Yep, same.
All right. College production. The winner here I had is Malachi Corley. Wilson, well, I guess they both spent 4 years here, but early. During the first 3 years of Wilson's career, he was unable to top 25 catches or 500 yards. His best season came in his final year, 48 catches, 789 yards, and 12 touchdowns. Malachi Corley outproduced him across the board during his career, obviously lower level of competition. During his final 3 seasons, he totaled at least 73 catches, 691 yards, and 7 touchdowns, with his best season being his second last one, 3rd overall, being 101 catches, 1,295 receiving yards, and 11 touchdowns. Obviously, this is another one where you could blame it all on the Harbaugh offense. Harbaugh offense, lower level of competition, no real teammates around him. It's no surprise that Corley wins this one. I'm just not sure if, like, he's going into New York here. Garrett Wilson is better than any 5 teammates he's ever played with combined. So he's not going to have the same situation. Whereas, like Corley, Wilson hasn't really played with a star receiver either, but George Pickens is not Garrett Wilson. So I gave this one, it's numbers. I gave this one to Corley, but I think there's a lot of context to it. Lower competition for targets, lower competition of opponent, different Michigan offense where they just fucking feed Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum. Even Colston Loveland, the tight end there, was a stud. So I think he's probably going to be the tight end 1 in this class coming up. But what did you guys think here? Pretty much Corley just by the numbers?
Yeah, if we're going teammate score, like they're both kind of stuck, honestly. Like the wide receiver teammate scores just aren't good for either one of these guys. But yeah, Roman Wilson's playing with NFL quality players. Like he has that at his advantage, right? We're talking about that. Corley, there's not a single NFL quality player on that roster besides him.
I got a question for you, Jesse, while you mentioned that. When you talk about your teammate score, how do you factor it in for a wide receiver? Do you do only the wide receivers, or like for McConkey, are you factoring in Bowers? Because when I do teammate score at Michigan, there's no receivers. When I factor in Colston Loveland, his teammate score is a little tougher because that tight end is a legit threat.
I do all pass catchers. So like if you have a
that's
tight end, that's good. Yeah, like I think like you got to account for those guys. It's really hard with like the running like backs to kind of put those into like they're different.
I don't.
But yeah. So I'm with you.
What are you talking about? Cornelius Johnson, Ronnie Bell last year. Let's go. These are put some respect on 7th round wide receiver Cornelius Johnson's name.
Yeah, Ronnie Bell was so good last year that they used the 1st round pick to overdraft Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, for real. It's nice. He's like wide receiver 7 at this point. He couldn't get past.
Let's pump the Pearsall hate. He's just a better. I will put my name on this. He is far better player than either one of these guys right now. Like it's not even close for me. It's Pearsall, hands down. Not even like we're not like 90% range players, but like
Agree. And the fact that where he landed and he's still going ahead of these guys in rookie drafts is just a testament to that. But college production, it's Corley because it's numbers. You know, it is what it is. There's nobody there but
numbers.
It's numbers. I like it. We got big numbers.
Next up, we have some more numbers in College Dominator. These numbers shocked me. They both had elite Dominator ratings over 30%. Wilson shocked me. He put up 40%. Corley was 31.9. How, like, a run-heavy offense with 2 stud running backs. I guess there was no other real pass catcher. Loveland was hurt at times and wasn't nearly as involved. But, like, Corley had no competition. I would have, like, don't get me wrong, Corley's Dominator score here is excellent. 31.9 is solid, but I was just amazed. If you had told me one was 40 and one was 31.9, I would have expected them to be flipped because this had vibes of, what was it? Was it Sky Moore a couple years ago coming out of, was it Western Michigan? Western Michigan. And his Dominator was like 42% because he was the offense. That's what I would have expected here, but it was flipped. And I don't know how it was flipped because the running backs alone, maybe the running backs weren't factoring in and their Dominator score only includes passing, but I think it includes all offense. So this one for me was Wilson, and I don't know how because higher competition for targets, but what do you guys think?
Look at the total passing yardage for the breakout years. Corley, the quarterback, threw for like 4,600 yards. Last year, JJ McCarthy and Roman Wilson's big year,
36 or 34.
Yeah, it's like 2,900 yards or something. Like it's not even that much. So it's like the huge chunk is like bigger for Wilson, even though it seems weird to say that. It's just like a much smaller pie. He's a bigger fish in a much smaller pie, so I'll say it. Which is weird talking about a guy at Michigan compared to a guy at Western Kentucky, but that's kind of how it worked out.
Well, that's the Harbaugh effect, I guess, man.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out if College Dominator takes into consideration total team touchdowns versus the percentage of touchdowns, and I think it does. But I'm not certain. But if so, Roman Wilson had 12 of JJ McCarthy's 22 touchdown passes last year. The next closest guy was Loveland at 4. And then there was a bunch of sporadic ones. Malachi Corley had 11 of Austin Reed's 31 total touchdowns. So I think he had fewer, a lesser percentage of total touchdowns for his team. Corley did than Roman Wilson, and that would have offset the Dominator in terms of the yardage production.
I can give you an answer here.
Yep.
I can give you an answer. College Dominator rating. Player Profiler has a glossary of terms section. I know that because I guess I still work there, but I'm inactive. College Dominator rating. First outlined by Frank DuPont in the book Game Plan, the College Dominator rating represents a player's market share or his percentage of his team's total offensive production. For example, a 35% Dominator indicates that a wide receiver has the potential to be a team's number 1 wide receiver and high caliber contributor. 20 to 35 indicates a mid-level talent. Less than 20 is a red flag. For wide receivers and tight end, the Dominator rating is the percentage of the team's receiving production. That includes touchdowns, receptions, yards, and all that. For running backs, it's the percentage of the total offensive production because running backs are involved in both the running and the passing game. So it's basically for receivers and tight ends, it's any relevant passing yards or passing totals statistics are included in your dominator rating.
Yeah, if you want the TLDR version, it's percentage of teams receiving yardage plus percentage of teams total touchdowns. Like that's how they work it out.
Hey, fuck you.
Hey,
Don't you TLDR me, motherfucker. All right, final category, since apparently it's TLDR. Landing spots and draft capital here. Draft capital, we had both third-round picks, so it's, I guess Corley wins it, but 65th overall, 84th overall for Wilson. First pick of the third round, middle to end of the third round for Wilson. You could give it to Corley, I guess, but it's not really a huge deal. Landing spot is the one that won it for me. Corley will go is on the Jets. He's at least behind Garrett Wilson. He could be behind Mike Williams if healthy. You're hoping maybe he's the number 2 here, and there's more competition. On the other hand, Pittsburgh, you've got George Pickens. I don't know if George Pickens is a target monster. I think he's an OBJ making nice one-handed catches. I don't think he's necessarily a high-volume guy. I don't think Wilson will ever become the 1 here, but even the 2, I think, is going to be a higher target share than it would be for the 2 behind Garrett Wilson, who will be a target monster. I also have much, much more faith in any second or third round receiver that the Steelers draft. I just assume they did their research, and they always seem to hit on these guys. That's why I think I have so many shares of Roman Wilson. I've just assumed this guy's going to be at least a wide receiver 3 this year, because they're just everyone they draft is a wide receiver 1, 2, or 3 for a couple of years. Then they let them walk because they're cheap fucks. But what do you guys think here?
Yeah, I think it just depends on if you want to bet on the talent of each player. Like we talk about the Pittsburgh offense. I mean, sure, maybe Calvin Austin's a thing. It's like probably not realistically. Like Roman Wilson's going to come and play this on. I think with Corley, it's more interesting because Allen Lazard's still there, and he's like he will come and he will be able to block at least for them. So how much is Corley going to play in year 1? But you just have to bet on the talent of either one of these guys because the situation sounds great, but it's Russell Wilson. Is he going to support multiple guys? We saw it last year. It was Cortland Sutton and fucking nobody else.
Are you sure it's Russell Wilson?
I mean, for the beginning part, like a couple weeks. Yeah,
like
I don't think Fields is that good of a quarterback.
Until they get
knocked out. I don't think either of them is. But
yeah, I honestly don't think either one is, but like I think Fields has the upside shot theoretically down the road, but this year, yeah, I think Russell Wilson's going to be the starting quarterback. But
I had that, and it was funny because I think you drafted one of them in our you got one of what, Fields or Wilson, right? And the other guy was taken. The other guy was taken before he got back to you. Well, my question was, I meant to ask you this. If Wilson had gotten back to you, were you going to stack them?
No, what I was going was the upside shot down the road. Like my team's ass in that league. I have nobody that I want to start in that league year 1.
No, but you were why I ended up trading for back-to-back picks because I knew I needed a quarterback, and I was worried if I took one Raiders quarterback, the other one was going to get sniped, and I wasn't going to have both of them because I seen you. I was like, fuck, he drafted Fields, and someone took Wilson. Because originally my plan was to take Fields and then double back and take Wilson because at that point I just needed to stack 2 of the shitty quarterbacks to make one QB3. So I
didn't want points on that team, so that's why I went Fields.
You got Will Levis and Mason Rudolph available to you. So if you want to stack shitty quarterbacks,
Hey,
I like Will Levis. Mason Rudolph, not so much.
Get Bryce Young, get all those guys. Just go for those guys. One of them works out.
Listen, here's the list of guys that are likely to out target Malachi Corley in his first season. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Breece Hall, Alan Lazard, Tyler Conklin, probably. Jason Brownlee is getting lots of hype. All right. All of those guys, the potential to out target Malachi Corley, and I think most of them will. Here's the list of guys who are likely to out target Roman Wilson. Maybe George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, maybe Jalen Warren. I think Roman Wilson has a clear path to targets, and I think you don't want Justin Fields or Russell Wilson throwing the ball deep. Russ used to have that in his bag. I'm not sure that he's going to want to throw it to a constantly double targeted George Pickens 20 yards down the field, or double covered George Pickens 20 yards down the field. So give me Roman Wilson all day in this landing spot, just because he doesn't have much to contend with.
All right, I guess. So Jeremy's going Roman Wilson. How about you? You're on the clock. Who are you going with, Jesse? Well, Roman Wilson, Malachi Corley.
I think if you want safety, you just take Wilson. I think not the upside's there, but the theoretical him just being a solid NFL player is much higher. But the funny thing, I was looking at the Mike Clay stats. Roman Wilson is projected for 46 targets behind Van Jefferson. So, woohoo, baby, it's looking good for Roman Wilson year one.
Behind Van Jefferson, Mike Clay, baby, what you doing?
he's theoretically always lower.
What is he, a Browns fan?
I mean, he could be. Who knows? He's pretty smart.
I need to look up Van Jefferson's yearly target total.
I forgot he was even on their team, and then I was like, oh yeah,
how many?
I forgot he was in the NFL still.
Yeah,
this is good. Jesse, how many targets did Mike Clay say that Van Jefferson was going to have this season?
51.
51.
And then he had George Pickens with 113. And you guess, you know who Alice saw target him? Jalen Warren. So that was interesting.
Yeah, possible. Yeah. Van Jefferson had 89 targets in 2021. Otherwise, he's had 31, 44, and 43 targets in his career. 50-something targets, it's not happening. Van Jefferson, get out of my face with that garbage.
Hey, Malachi Corley with a whopping 56 for the Jets. I think it's a much bigger pie in New York. So if you want to talk yourself into total targets, I think the upside is more there with Corley, but I think Roman Wilson's just a better solid player. So that's how I choose upside. So theoretically, I'm not drafting either one of these guys. I have 0 shares of both of them, by the way. So you're asking the wrong guy on this one.
I have a lot of shares of Roman Wilson, so it's a clean sweep across the board for Wilson. If you want to see the full write-up of this, head over to Fantasy Football Universe. Same with all the other face-offs or the sneak peeks. You can also stay tuned for the end of this video. I will link the Roman Wilson and Malachi Corley sneak peeks. You can learn more about both of these guys. Check back. I think this weekend sometime we're going to do a mock draft, and then we're going to start the veteran face-offs next week. Moving forward, follow, rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We would greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time.